There is something intriguing about someone who refuses a gift with a polite smile, but without the sparkle in their eyes that most people display when they receive something. While society celebrates the gesture of giving and receiving as proof of affection, these people seem to carry an invisible weight every time a colorful package appears in their hands. It's not a lack of gratitude, it's as if, for them, the act of giving presents carries a hidden code that only they can decipher, and which often makes them uncomfortable. Before thinking about ingratitude or coldness, you need to understand, there is nothing wrong with not being thrilled with gifts. Some simply don't associate happiness with objects, and that doesn't make them any less capable of loving or being loved. But behind this apparent indifference, there is a universe of meanings that go far beyond the formal thank you. Perhaps the problem is not the gift itself, but what it represents or what it fails to represent. Imagine a child who, year after year, received expensive gifts, but never the true presence of the person offering them. The shiny packages arrived accompanied by excuses. Father can't come today, but I left this for you. Over time, the brain learns to associate the gesture not with generosity, but with absence. The gift becomes a symbol of replacement, and accepting it starts to hurt because it reminds you of something that was never truly given: attention, time, affection without conditions. What should be a gesture of love turns into a silent reminder of loneliness. Others develop this resistance for an opposite reason: the fear of owing something in return. For those who grew up in environments where everything had a price, even affection, receiving a gift sets off an internal alarm. What does this person expect from me now? Distrust is not a lack of trust in others, but self-protection built over years. If each favor was accompanied by a veiled demand, if each generous gesture hid an emotional trap, the instinct to retreat becomes automatic. Accepting becomes dangerous because, in the past, accepting meant going into emotional debt. There are still those for whom gifts are uncomfortable mirrors. Imagine someone who spends their life striving to be self-sufficient, who takes pride in not depending on anyone. A gift, however well-intentioned, can feel like an intrusion. Don't you trust that I can achieve this on my own? It's not arrogance, it's a question of identity. For these people, the true proof of affection is not in an object, but in respect for their autonomy. A sincere hug, a deep conversation, or simply the certainty that you can count on someone without needing material exchanges are worth more than anything wrapped in decorated paper. And then there are the emotional minimalists, those who see gifts as a form of affective pollution. They don't reject the gesture, they reject the accumulation. For them, every object given without real need is an additional weight in the world, an additional obligation to keep, to be grateful, to respond. Prefer experiences to things: a coffee together, a trip, a moment of laughter. What matters is not what you can hold in your hands, but what remains in your memory. A material gift, in this case, is like offering a drawing to someone who prefers to contemplate the sunset. Beautiful, but unnecessary compared to what is essential. But what happens when this resistance hides something deeper? Sometimes, discomfort with gifts reveals a self-esteem wound. Anyone who doesn't feel worthy of receiving it, whether out of guilt, shame, or an inner voice that whispers you don't deserve it, can develop an allergy to materialized affection. Accepting a gift, in this case, would be like admitting that someone sees value where they themselves do not. It's easier to refuse than to face the possibility of being loved. The curious thing is that, often, these same people are the ones who give the most without expecting anything in return. They understand the value of selfless gestures. Because, deep down, they yearn for him. But when they are on the other side, when they are the recipients, something inside them freezes. Maybe because, at some point in their lives, they learned that receiving is more dangerous than giving. If you identify with this, no, you are not ungrateful, nor cold, nor difficult to please. You just developed a protection system against something that, at some point, hurt. And this is not a defect, it is wisdom in disguise. Because, deep down, you understand a truth that many people take years to learn: what really matters doesn't come wrapped in gift paper. Perhaps the greatest gift you can give yourself is to allow yourself to receive not the objects, not the obligations, but the pure affection that they try, however imperfectly, to represent. And if it still costs today, that's okay. The heart has its own times. What's important is recognizing that behind every no thanks may just be a soul who is still learning to trust that some good things don't have to be earned, they just are. If this made sense to you, tell us in the comments, how do you deal with gifts? And if you know someone like this, share, they may need to read these words today. For more reflections like this, subscribe and turn on notifications. And remember, sometimes the best gift is knowing that we don't need gifts to be loved. Until next time. The silence that speaks, when no thank you is the language of the soul. There is a kind of silence that is not empty. It is the silence of those who have heard broken promises in colored paper wrappings, of those who learned that some gifts come with invisible threads and that, when pulling them, we discovered that they were tied to expectations, guilt, or even emotional blackmail. You know this silence. It's the same thing that hovers between the words when someone returns a gift with a polite smile, or when their eyes shine less than tissue paper when they tear it. But here's the truth that few dare say, that no thanks isn't rejection, it's an act of poetic self-defense. It's the soul saying, without shouting, I've had enough of things that came with conditions. Now, I choose what really nourishes me. And that, my friend, is not cold. It's a rare form of courage. The anatomy of a refused gift, or, what we're really giving back. When you refuse a gift or even the idea of celebrating dates that should be special, you're not just saying no to the object or the gesture. You are returning a social currency that you no longer want to carry. See what could be hidden in this gesture. 1. The return of invisible debt. If you give me this, I owe you that. Some gifts are like unwritten contracts. Accepting them means signing an agreement of loyalty, eternal gratitude, or even submission. To refuse is to free yourself from the hidden clause. Example: the boss's expensive watch that forgets that you worked overtime. The mother-in-law's dress that casually suits her taste, not yours. 2. Rejecting the social script. Society has a ready-made script: birthday equals party. Christmas equals exchanges. Valentine's Day equals performative romance. Refusing to follow this script is asking, why do I have to perform happiness on your schedule? Key phrase: I'm not ungrateful, I just don't believe that love or value can be measured in commercial dates. 3. Protection against repeated disappointment. The brain is a meticulous historian. If in the past you waited for something that didn't come, a hug, a memory, a sincere congratulations, he learns, it's better not to expect anything. That way, nothing hurts. Metaphor: it's like closing the windows before the storm. It's not that you don't like the rain, it's just that it's already been too wet. 4. The search for genuine. Mandatory gifts, formal gestures, memorized words. All of this is noise. What these souls really want is what can't be wrapped up: a conversation at 3 a.m. Tomorrow, a comfortable silence, and I see you for no reason. Contrast: I prefer how are you, more real than an automatic happy birthday. The paradox: when refusing is actually an act of receiving. Here's the most beautiful irony in this story: when you stop accepting what doesn't serve you, you finally make room to receive what really matters. You refuse the material gift, and gain the freedom of not owing anything to anyone. You ignore the commemorative date, and discover that life is not made up of days marked on the calendar, but of moments that mark the soul. You say no thanks to the empty gesture, and, in the silence that follows, you hear for the first time the sound of your own voice saying, "Yes, I want it." This is not ingratitude. It is a form of selective gratitude. It's like cleaning the table before serving the feast. You remove what spoils the flavor to appreciate what really nourishes. For those who still feel guilty, or judged. If you're from that tribe that cringe when someone says, "Wow, don't you like gifts?" listen to this. You are not difficult. You are selective. And in a world that bombards us with cheap stimuli, from likes to flash promotions, selection is a superpower. Tip for family and friends: if someone you love refuses your gestures, don't insist. Ask, what would make you truly happy? Sometimes the answer is nothing, and that's an answer, too. Tip for yourself: don't justify yourself. A simple thanks, but I don't need it is enough. You don't owe satisfaction for the way you receive, or don't receive, love. The gift you deserve, and that no one can give you. At the end of the day, There is a gift that no package, no anniversary, and no person can offer you, permission to be exactly as you are. For those who refuse gifts, your wisdom lies in knowing that some things cannot be bought, not even with the best of intentions. For anyone who feels alone in this, know that you are not alone. There are a legion of people who also prefer the tight hug to the signed card, the shared memory to the posted photo, the "I'm here" to the generic congratulations. For those who are still learning, there is no rush. The heart has its own clock, and it does not follow the time zone of social media or other people's expectations. An invitation, no, not a gift. If this text resonates with you, do one thing for me, not out of obligation, but out of choice. 1. In the comments, tell us about a time when you refused something, a gift, a gesture, an expectation, and, deep down, you were protecting an important part of yourself. Your words can be the mirror someone needs to see themselves. 2. Share with that friend who always says it's not necessary but everyone thinks it's difficult. Maybe he just needs to know he's not wrong. 3. Save this reflection for the next time you feel guilty about not following the script. Life is too short to experience happiness. And if you want more reflections like this, no packaging, no expiration date, just subscribe. Because the best things in life don't come with a ribbon bow. They come with meaning. Until next time. Or, as someone who doesn't like goodbyes would say, until when life crosses our path again. Seedling. The silence that speaks loudest. There is a type of person who doesn't need words to take up space. It is not the silence of disinterest, nor the stillness of indifference. It is the silence that chose not to compete with the noise of the world, and, therefore, many confuse it with absence. Have you ever noticed how some people don't fill the gaps in conversation with forced laughter or exaggerated stories? While most people rush to not let the silence breathe, they simply let the air circulate. Not because of laziness, but because they understood something that few admit: not every space needs to be filled. For those who still think that stillness is a lack of personality, the world taught that whoever does not speak, does not exist. That being heard is synonymous with importance, and that remaining silent is surrendering to invisibility. But what if the opposite were true? What if silence was the most radical form of presence? Think about the people you admire most. The ones that, when they open their mouth, the entire room stops to listen. What do they have in common? They don't talk just to talk. They choose words like a gardener chooses seeds, knowing that not everything planted will bloom, but what does bloom will be unforgettable. What silence hides, and what it reveals. 1. It's not empty, it's a filter. While some speak to fill their own discomfort, those who choose silence are often filtering what deserves attention. Example. Have you ever been in a group where everyone gave their opinions except one person? In the end, when she spoke, the entire discussion changed direction. This is no coincidence. 2. It's not passivity, it's power. Silence can be a weapon of resistance. In a world that demands constant performance, refusing to perform is an act of rebellion. Question for reflection: how many times have you spoken just to avoid seeming disconnected? And how many times did you regret it later? 3. It's not a lack of response, it's a delayed response. Some minds process things in slow motion not because they are slow, but because they prefer depth over speed. Metaphor: imagine a lake. Turbulent waters mirror chaos, still waters reflect the sky. 4. It's not absence, it's selective presence. Those who talk little choose where to spend their energy. And when you decide to be present, you really are not with half your attention, like someone scrolling through their feed while listening to someone. The paradox of silence in the age of noise. We live in a time where whoever shouts the most gets the most likes, where opinion is currency and silence is interpreted as weakness. But here's the inconvenient truth. The world doesn't need more voices. It needs more voices that have something to say. Talking too much is not synonymous with wisdom. Sometimes it's just fear of being forgotten. Silence is not the lack of sound. It's the sound of whoever is listening, for real. For those who recognized themselves, or recognized someone. If you are one of those who prefer listening to talking, observing rather than being observed, reflecting rather than reacting, no. You're not boring. You are rare. You're not antisocial. You are selective. You are not invisible. You are the type of person that, when you decide to show up, no one forgets. And if the world insists on thinking that those who don't speak have nothing to say, let them think that. The best stories are not told, they are lived in silence, and only revealed to those who deserve to hear. A challenge, only if you want. In the comments, say 1. The time you chose silence and deep down, you were protecting something important, an idea, a feeling, your peace. 2. Or share with that friend who everyone thinks is quiet, but when he opens his mouth, everyone stops to listen. And if you like this type of reflection, no embellishments, no formulas, just raw truth, just sign up. Because the best conversations are not the ones that make the most noise, they are the ones that echo inside. Until next time. Or, as those who understand silence would say, until the next pause that's worth breaking. Milky Way.